To travel is to travel is to take a journey into yourself. Danny K, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, most welcome guests, and fellow travelers. In October of 2019, I took a trip to Europe for about a little bit over 6 weeks. And I've traveled before, but this was one of the first times that I've traveled by myself. I started the trip with friends, and then at some point after like the first week, I went off and did my own thing. Started in London, went to Ireland, then Copenhagen, Germany, France, and Amsterdam. I mean, I was like all down that piece of Western Europe, and it was a really cool experience. Now I got a chance to see a lot of sights, a lot of really interesting people, a lot of really interesting foods, but I wanted to share with you 3 very profound things that I got from that experience. I met a very cool girl there. I had a really interesting experience that reminded me of my grandma, and then I went to the Eiffel Tower, which is very popular, and I had a profound experience there. So let's start with that one. And the reason I start with that is because it's always been one of my dreams to visit France and go to the Eiffel Tower. It's very special, in part because I have part of my lineage is French, a small part on my grandma's side. And so I've always wanted to go to France, go to Paris specifically, and check out the Eiffel Tower and all that, and the food. I heard it's amazing. And so that was one of the first experiences that was really profound for me, like actually being there. And I got there during the day, and I basically walked from my Airbnb all the way to the Eiffel Tower, which was about a couple miles. I did a lot of walking in this whole trip, and I remember standing there, and this thing is massive. I mean, it's so big. It's it looks very small in pictures, but it's humongous. And it was a very interesting moment to be there, right, during the day. But then I was like, I want to see this at night, because it's all lit up. I mean, it just looks amazing. So I, go back to my Airbnb, and I come back later at night, and it's all lit up. And then at some point, like I think at every hour, the lights start flashing and stuff, and you see this really cool display of light, of lights and stuff, and it's like it's amazing. And I got a chance to get on the elevator and go all the way to the top. And so I'm standing there at the top of the Eiffel Tower, overlooking, Paris, and you have this beam of light that kind of goes around the entire city. And I had this realization. I met this goal. Speaking about reaching for your goals, this meeting, that was one of these goals that I had for at least 5, 6, 7 years. And I wasn't sure when that was going to happen. I didn't really, I hadn't really traveled outside of like the US or Latin America. And so being there across the pond, as they say, being on top of the Eiffel Tower was amazing. I was like, wow, like I made this goal happen. I have on my wallpaper on my computer, I've had the Eiffel Tower, a shot of the Eiffel Tower in Paris for like the longest time, because that was one of my goals, and I reached it. So that was a big realization. Now, after Paris, I headed down to Lyon, which is a smaller city, and it's a lot slower paced, a lot smaller, and it's another interesting experience. One of the parks they have there is called the La Tête d'Or, which means the head of gold. And so this park is really big. It has a big lake in it. It has a little kind of like a theme park inside of it. But the biggest thing that I got from that was I'm walking down this park, and I'm walking along the lake, very slowly, just kind of taking my time. And I hear this piano playing. Now, I love the piano. It's something that my grandma used to play really well, and I've always wanted to learn it. And I play a little bit of it, not nearly as much as I would like to, but getting there little by little. So I'm walking down this park, and I hear this piano. I'm like, how is there a piano in the middle of this freaking park? Like, this is crazy. And as I approach the sound and keep getting closer and closer, I see that there's this canopy, and there's a piano there, and there's this small crowd, and there's this guy playing. And so they have this piano just in the middle of the park, just in the middle of nowhere. And the song that he was playing was one of my grandma's favorite songs. And it kind of hit me, and I started tearing up. My grandma passed away about 15 years ago, and I never really had a chance to spend a whole lot of time with her because she lived in Mexico. And ever since we came here, I haven't really visited Mexico very often. And so I didn't really get a chance to spend much time with her. And hearing that song being played on the piano, just the way that she played it, it felt like she was speaking to me. And so I sat there and listened to this, this piano song for a while, overlooking the lake in the middle of this park. And, it was an amazing experience. It was very profound. I went out to Europe looking for like the sights and this, the scenery and stuff. And there's these times where I kind of got to reconnect with myself. Later on, I went down to Barcelona. That was kind of like towards the end of the trip. And, for most of this time, I had, again, just been traveling alone. And, I think I had like 2 days left in Barcelona. And I decided, you know what, it'd be kind of cool to meet some people from here, meet some ladies from Barcelona. So I busted up the Bumble app, which I hadn't really used in, like, I don't know, like forever. Or actually, probably, hadn't used it before that. Because I wasn't really ready to like date, for a while there. After my last relationship ended, I didn't feel quite ready to date because I thought that one was going to be the one. It didn't end up being the one. It was very disappointing, very heartbreaking. I moved to Texas because of her, and then I came back and I was like, well, that didn't work out. So I busted out the Bumble app and I started swiping right. And I matched with a couple girls from there. One of them happened to be from Dallas. So she wasn't Spanish. She wasn't from Barcelona. She happened to be from Dallas. Anyway, we ended up meeting up and we had a nice dinner. The following day, we went to the Basilica de la Sagrada Familia, which is this amazing basilica, amazing church in Barcelona that took like 150 years to build. And we had an amazing time. But the next day I had to leave. She was going to stay there for a couple more days, and I had to leave. And I went on to Alicante and then back home. Now, the reason why I mentioned that is because after that experience with this girl, traveling, out there in the middle of, in a different continent where I didn't anticipate this happening, I thought, I had this profound moment where I thought, I think I'm ready to date now. It's been a while. This felt good. It felt good to, share a meal with somebody of the opposite sex and have a good time. And so I thought, okay, I think I'm ready. So when I came back, I thought, okay, I think I'm good to go. And then I started going out. And then in March, Corona hit, everything got locked down. And so there went that plan. But at least it gave me that feeling of, okay, I think I'm ready to, put myself out there and kind of get, engaged with the dating scene again. So I mentioned this because, these 3 moments in this trip were very profound for me. And it was more about, I went out there looking for stuff out there, but it was more about connecting, or ended up being more about connecting with myself, especially because I traveled alone. Now, in the past, I've traveled with girlfriends and friends, et cetera, and it just has not been the same experience. So what I wanted to leave you with is, for those of you who have traveled, if you haven't traveled alone, I would highly recommend you, get out there and just kind of do your own thing at least once, because I think you'll have those moments where you have you'll find something that's profound to you. You'll reconnect to yourself, and it's not just about being out there and finding something there, but finding something within yourself. Mr. Toastmaster.